What's up, y'all? BramRadio episode number 26. Is it really? We're on 26, y'all. We're still here, sort of. Sorry, it's been a while. We've had a lot going on around here and amongst our team, and a lot of growing has been happening, a lot of stuff. So we've just kind of taken a little bit of a backseat with the podcast. Plenty of stuff for you to go back and check out. Hey, if you're not on Instagram, BramRadio podcast on Instagram, BramRadio podcast. Sam's the one that puts that stuff out there. There's a lot of interesting. You can see like little bits and pieces of this. And also, as always, thank you, Emrod and Sound Breaking Ground, for that awesome intro that y'all just heard. But today, I have a really good friend of mine. She is also my teammate here at Skydiver San Diego, the happiest place on earth. And I want to introduce the person that runs Trident Training Center. That is our school where people learn how to skydive. Not just going to check the box. Yep, did a tandem, one and done, call it good, tell my friends, got the Instaface story. No, this is where people go to learn how to skydive. That person is here. Also, momentous occasion. This is the day, Zach, that we have always talked about. The day that we have, for the first time on BramRadio, a woman. We have a woman here today. So it's kind of weird because, usually this place smells like dudes in here. And now we have a woman. So to be able to offset that a little bit, right? So I want to welcome Miss Amber Wright.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Yes.
Good to see you. We work together every day.
Yes, sir.
We hang out a lot.
Yes, we do.
I want you to tell them, because it's one thing if I tell them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the question that I get asked all the time, and I'm sure you've never heard this, everybody thinks that they're unique, and they heard it one time, like 5-10 years ago, and they couldn't wait to pull it out of their pocket that, why would I jump out of a perfectly good airplane? Ever heard that one?
A few times.
How many times a week?
Oh, probably at least 10, but I have a canned response.
What's that?
They left the door open.
Right? Or there's no such thing as a perfectly good airplane.
That's my secondary response.
Right.
But always, they left the door open, so why not? Give it a whirl.
Airplanes. There's no such thing as a perfect airplane. But you have managed to build one of the most significant skydiving schools in the nation based on your experience, the stuff that you have been through with other drop zones, because you've worked at other places before. You've taken all of these things that you have learned over the years in people management, the advances in the sport, the technology that goes in the sport. And you're even wearing the shirt of our friends at Fluid Wings. And you take all of that, you wrap it up, and now you have also added to it, like, what is our culture at the drop zone, how we treat people, how we manage our customers and students, making sure that they stay safe and happy and they're having a good time. You've managed to take all of that and you rolled it up into this really interesting package, and you've placed it out there for the public to consume, and it is taken hold to the point to where the opposite is happening here that happens at a lot of other drop zones, where here it's a significant piece of our revenue. At other drop zones, it's ancillary. It's kind of over there in the background, and they kind of get mixed up in the shuffle. And sometimes you got that guy right here doing tandems, and then he's got to come down, and he's going to do somewhat of a kind of a half-ass brief with somebody. Then they're going to go up and do. Here, it's very systematic. It's very intentional the way that you have set it up. And the reason I wanted to have you here today, one, is because we've talked about this a lot, and you and I have conversations all the time. I'm like, ooh, that'd be really good on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like we gotta have that conversation. But there's a lot of people out there who have skill sets and abilities, but they don't know how to build. And maybe they're like me, because that's kind of my problem, because I am a visionary. Visionaries aren't always doers. We have a vision, we know where we want to go, But then you have to have people who are able to do the vision, take ownership of a piece of it, and drive on. You're a unique one in that you have both. And those people, that's about 2% of people walking around out there who are in business or in leadership or having ideas that have both the ability to do vision, but then also have the admin abilities, attention to detail, and the focus to be able to pull that off. So congratulations for that, for being a freak. But I like, how does your brain work in that area? Because I got a lot of guys out here, they do business, and a lot more of them are wired like me than like you, of course, because there's 98% of people that can do, like, visionaries, fairly rare. More people are doers that are visionary. Even fewer are both.
Well, honestly, you gave me the lateral movement and the opportunity to do that. So I came to you with an idea. I saw an opening. You had some change in management. I threw down a business plan on a piece of paper that'd been rolling around in my head for a while. And you gave me the opportunity and the lateral movement to apply those ideas. On the back side of that, the administrative side, everybody that knows me knows I'm math and science. We even talk to the students like, you don't just feel it. Like, where are these things where we have these actual data points? So not only was I allowed to apply the ideas, but then I could gather the data. I could show you the numbers. I could prove that we have a system that actually works, and it works for the student success rate. It works for that instructor confidence. It works for the revenue for the drop zone. It also allows people like me. I grew up skydiving. I grew up watching the working women of skydiving that, like, I hold true, like the Angie Aragons, the Aria Vellas, Miss Kathy over in North Carolina, all these women that are working alongside of me and saying, hey, maybe I don't want to be a tandem instructor, but I have a lot of value to bring on the professional side of skydiving. I'm a video flyer. I'm an AFF instructor. I wanted to set up a school where people that are passionate about AFF and the sport and producing a wonderful product, producing a safe skydiver that I now have to go fly in the air with. I had the opportunity to do that. And I had the opportunity on the administrative side to get the data. I had the opportunity on the visionary side to say, I have an idea and I'm pretty sure I can make it work. And that's what we've done. And it's been about 4 years, but it's been a climb from the jump. From the day that I was boots on the ground here, we've been on the climb.
Yeah.
And that's honestly because I was given the opportunity. A lot of DZOs, I get it. You have to support your drop zone. You have to keep the doors open. And because they see that ancillary revenue, I think that's such a good way to say it, because that's what they look at it as. Well, we offer that as extra, but it's an afterthought. We'll throw them on at the end of the day if we can. And so I wanted these AFFIs, these professional skydivers that hold those things true. I wanted them to have an opportunity because I do care about our customers. But I'm an instructor and I am a lady of the people, if you will. And I'm working alongside of them. And I'm like, how can I create something that I wanted? That I can get the things that I didn't get growing up as an instructor, where they were eating the young and kicking you out the door instead of saying, hey, let's do some staff development. If I would have been given one key piece of advice, it could have fixed that thing that plagued me as an instructor for years. I want to offer that to people. And that's what we've grown here. And I'm really proud of it. Like, I'm very proud of our DZ.
That dude right there is one of your instructors, Mr. Zach.
Yeah.
Out there, he was clutch the other day, too, man. He just pulled through and just like, Zach, we need you. We have too many students.
Well, and that's the thing I love about the school, though, is I feel like I've created an environment where I say to them, it's not mine, it's ours. And if you have an idea, if you have an innovation, if you saw something that was great at a conference, bring it back. If it makes sense, let's build it together. The reason I have people like Zach that I can call them on a dime, hey, I'm in a jam, I need you to come in. They will drop everything that they're doing and they'll come in. Mm-hmm. And that's what he did the other day. And it interrupted his Saturday, but he spent half the day helping us and helping those students he had a relationship with. And that type of staff, that brotherhood of people where we're all working together, it's exponential here.
Yeah, that's the next thing I wanted to ask you, just because it doesn't matter what kind of business somebody has or what they're doing. It's culture is key.
Yes.
And when you have a healthy culture, it's going to breed a healthy response from the employees, from the contractors if they're there, from the customers that come in. Everybody's going to be able to see it. You know, when I'm here on the weekends, which isn't that often, it's because I try to get some time to myself. I think that's really important, key ingredient to leadership, is making sure that you're taking the time for you. But when you have a healthy culture, the people who are the end user of that culture, the people that it affects way down the road is on the outer side of the ripple effect is going to be the customer. And if they're still feeling that ripple by the time it gets to them, then you know that your culture is headed in the right direction. Does culture ever really arrive? Probably not. But it's always something to work on. But as I walk around over on the AFF side, I see AFF. So AFF, accelerated free fall, for the people, for y'all that may not have ever heard that term before. Accelerated free fall, that is the actual process of learning how to skydive. So if you hear us say AFF, that's people learning how to skydive. AFFI is an AFF instructor, accelerated free fall instructor, the person who is teaching you how to do that. That's when we're talking, might throw out some acronyms. I'm going to try to catch them, or if I say it, you got to catch it. That, throw it out there. Yeah. But how do you build a culture inside of a team, especially when you have a team kind of like ours, right? Skydivers, by and large, a lot of them, they're smashed up people. They come from they come from brokenness, like a lot of people out there now, and they find a tribe with skydivers because it's a lot of other people who are like them. Normally, you take that down the road through the honeymoon phase. As soon as that's over, things can get a little wonky, right?
Yes.
Here, that does happen. It happens anywhere, but here, the reason why culture has to be managed so hard and so, like, you got to be engaged with your people, is because you have to feel them. How you doing today? What's going on? Because what you're about to be doing is you're going out there and you're taking on one of the biggest invariables that are laws of the law of the universe, right? And that is a God-given law of gravity. And that thing is not changing. That is an invariable. That means that what you're doing is life and death. So if that culture is not in place, somebody's in the airplane taking a student up or going in on a skydive and they're not present, right? What is your trick for making sure that your team stays on point?
I am a huge proponent of staff development, non-punitive staff development. Most of my guys self-report. Like, they'll land and immediately come over to me, hey, we had a problem. And
they feel safe with you.
Yeah, because I want them to. I think another big thing with that staff development is I can do that with them because I'm shoulder to shoulder with them. I saw a big shift in the culture, specifically here at Skydive San Diego, when we had some changes in the management, when we changed over to managers that are actually doing the skydives. They're doing the work. A previous drop zone I worked at had a manager that was very yelling at the people, get on the plane, do the thing, in these situations, these conditions that are like questionable at best. My thought at that moment was, that's really easy for you to say when you're standing here with a radio and you're not in the plane alongside of me making those same tough decisions. And I internalized that, and I brought that with me here. And Zach can tell you, we've done skydives together. It's easy for me to do that staff development if I'm with you, if I'm doing the work with you. I'm never asking you to do anything that I'm not doing right alongside of you. And then as we work through that system together, one, I learn your personality as far as who you are. I learn who you are as a teacher. I learn what your dynamics are, your interpersonal dynamics, your IQ and your EQ. Those things are all important to me when I see how they interact. My biggest thing in the school, why I think it's so successful and our staff works so well together, is I establish some objective standards so that everybody has a baseline. That's the minimum. But I want the personalities. I don't want the standardization to become militant, if you will. Hey, you got to check these boxes. How you get them to do that? Well, you have a couple options. And I allow people's personalities to come out because maybe the language I use just doesn't speak to you. But the language Zach uses, well, that clicked. And we're essentially saying the same thing to you. There's just a different interpersonal dynamic there. I think our guys, again, because I tell them, this is our thing. Take pride in it. And they do. They do. Like Sean Carroll, shout out. You're my guy.
Yeah.
And I allow them to help shape the direction we're going. If they say, hey, I'm consistently seeing this problem, and my suggestion is to fix it like this, we try it. Then we track the statistics. If it's successful, we have a new policy. It doesn't have to come from me. And so I think that openness to be approached, I think the fact that they know I can do the work and I'm not just setting benchmarks arbitrarily, I'm actually out there doing it with them. And then one of everybody's favorite things to do is our staff development at the end of the day. We sit down and we watch the videos. We watch them together. Even I will ask some of the guys, hey, I could have been a little more polished on that. Is there any tips you have for me? And because I don't expect perfection because I can't give it. So as long as everybody's out there and they're putting it out on the table. Now, some people might be critical to those statements. That's obviously, if we have egregious safety issues, that's a separate matter. But in your day-to-day, hey, on this exit, if you keep this tension here and you're not overstretched, it'll go easier. Oh, okay, that's an easy fix. Or hey, on the hill, if we turn it so that we are away from jump run, or we're getting the wind to push us home. Little things like that, if you will. But honestly, I think that's why our school is so successful and we have very little turnover. And usually I have a waiting list of instructors that want to come to the school, which I love. I love that. I love that for our team here. I love it for our customers. I have world record holders. I have gold medal holders, and these people that they want to share this sport they're so passionate about and they're good at, and people have everyday access to them.
Yeah. I think that humility is super key. And that's if as a leader, you are able to step into the vein of humility and say, and show, I'm not perfect, kind of like with you and with your debriefs at the end of the day, hey, what do you have for me that makes me better? If you can step in there and say, I'm not perfect. I want to grow too. I want to get better. There are so many things out there that are in sports and in life where you are never going to arrive. It's that journey to get there where the everyday being just 1% better, like Ricky Lundell, he has a thing, he says 1% better every day. And being that person who is it even says that what was that I heard a quote, I just had it, I just lost it because both my brain cells are firing right now, and neither of them have the ability to hold thoughts long. But if you're able to step into progress, right? That is a great substitution for perfection, because this is attainable, this isn't. But this is going to always be gravitationally pulled towards perfection. It'll never get there, right? But as you're moving towards that, even if it's just 1% better every day, the people around see that. And as a leader, if people aren't driving for that progression, striving for perfection, knowing that they aren't going to get there, that is inspirational for other people to say, "Hey, listen, I got it. I'm with you on that. I want to go on that journey with you." And when you have people all around in any kind of environment, work environment, any kind of business that are on that sheet together, they are going to they're going to be forever, because that comes with huge amounts of adversity in every turn. But if you understand that your battle is not against flesh and blood, but it's against the powers and principalities, those things which are out there that are bad, that are going to try to get in between you and me and Sam, Zach and Sam, you and Zach, me and Zach, it gets between people, and then we start, but you don't see that struggle as for what it is. I'm going to look at it and be like, oh, that's just Amber is trying to get one, blah, 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 blah. No, if I'm not going to look at it that way. I'm going to look at it and say, I know what's really happening here. How do I draw closer to her? How do I draw closer with my partner, with my swim buddy, with my battle buddy in this adversity? How do I get this person to do the same? So it's reciprocated. So we're both pulling together and we're both fighting whatever it is that we have to get past, right? And here, there's no shortage of that. It's just like in any business. But so many leaders in business don't want to do that. They want to look at it and be like, oh, it's this person, eject lever, that person. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and ignore them. Let's put them. How about this person? No. And it's never an introspective look where they sit there and look at themselves and be like, what could I be doing to make myself better? So Amber, did you ever have a student that you couldn't teach how to skydive?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It was pretty difficult because there was no personal accountability, I suppose is the best way to say it. So we film everything. We film it, one, so I can help you become a better instructor, or you can give me some tips as well. But we also do it for the mind-body connection, right? But also a little bit in the back of my brain, I'll be honest, most adults are difficult to teach. Most adults, saying the word fail, it hits them wrong. Like here, we don't use the word fail. We don't say you failed a level. We say, hey, we're going to repeat that. And we talk about proficiency. Had one student in particular, first jump did not go so well. Exit was very poor. His body position was really bad. We rolled.
What's the criteria for passing the first one?
On the first one, honestly, we just have to get you out of the airplane in the most simplified way. You have to get out of the plane. You need to pull your parachute at a specified time. Land somewhere on the airport and not hurt yourself. Great first skydive. In the most simplified way, that's the most easiest way to say it. Because, it's your first time. You're overwhelmed. You're overstimulated. Your brain is just, woo. So for the student, it's more about them learning how to control their mind, control their body, work with that adrenaline. Student did not do well. We as instructors had to work hard. We had to roll him back to the correct body position, come back in together. We start going through the video the entire time. That you guys did that. I didn't do that. That was your fault. You guys made me fail the skydive. Okay. All right. So in my brain, I'm going, okay, this is a person that doesn't do well with constructive criticism. We'll go do it again. Given the opportunity to do it again, same result. I even switched the instructors. So at that point, there was no, it's these instructors, either they don't like me or it's a them problem. So we even switched out the instructors. Same thing happened. In the video review, it was very readily evident that that person just, their lizard brain took over. The terror took over. And they just weren't suited for it. And it was a difficult conversation to have because they were not willing to take personal accountability or absorb any of that. Hey, maybe this just isn't for me, or maybe I'm not ready for this right now. Because we had suggested, hey, you can go to the wind tunnel. So then you're really only focusing on flying your parachute because you'll feel confident about your free fall skills. No suggestions were good enough. It was never his fault. It was always on the instructors. And at that point, I felt like it would be in our best interest as an organization to cut our ties with that individual just based on their general attitude and their very aggressive interactions with those instructors with all of the blame. Very frequently, I'm not one to jump to the bowling talk. And for those that don't know about skydiving, that's when you have someone that's attempting to do it and they're just not doing well. And we talk about maybe some other hobbies. You could bowl, you can golf. Like there's options.
Skydiving is not for everybody.
It really isn't. And that's right now, I think in society, there's a lot of buzz around inclusivity, right? Inclusivity versus exclusivity. That's the beautiful part about skydiving. It's wildly inclusive. We take in everyone. and we want to make that community. But this is still a sport. It's an extreme sport. There is some level of athleticism. There's some level of control over the mind body. There's some sort of there's some type of intellectualism that goes into it, and being able to absorb all the data and regurgitate it fairly quickly. So it does take a certain kind of person and a certain kind of personality and a certain kind of physical ability. And look, I'm not one to immediately exclude someone. But I think when you get to a certain point where that person is uncoachable, and that's not often, but if that person's uncoachable or unwilling to learn or unwilling to try the things that we're putting out there for them, it's in our best interest to just cut ties with that individual, especially when it makes the instructors stressed, because we are really good at our jobs, but when we kind of know what's coming, and the experienced folks out there know what I mean, you can tell. I think Zach would even agree with me. Like, you can tell before you go up, you're like, well, I'm about to go to work and I'm going to work hard on this skydive. So those are the people, but that's been one person. I can honestly say one person. Oh, wait, there were two. The other one was someone who I always ask the question, why do you want to learn how to skydive? And the answers are varied. This person said, I saw it on Instagram and it looked cool. So we got that person through their first skydive, got them under a parachute. Once we all landed, we could see they were flying in the completely wrong direction, actually flying towards a city, not the drop zone. They did land off. They were unresponsive on radio. When we finally collected that person and we collected their gear, we realized they had never released their toggles. They had never done a canopy check. They just floated back to the planet, and they didn't do anything to help
Big
themselves.
old fat data dump.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So after that, we kind of talked about, what their goals were, and essentially they didn't have any. And when we had that discussion of, hey, when we taught you these things, these are the things that you're required to do so you're safe. And they were like, yeah, but it was fine though. And it's like, okay, you landed on a parachute that you never even checked. To me, that person is not someone that can think clearly enough to be safe in the event of an emergency. And we can very easily get a student to the point where they have a parachute over their head. But at that point, even though we've trained them, we have them on a radio, they still have to calm their adrenaline enough to fly. Yeah. And that person was unable to do that. So those were our two out of over, probably at this point, we're close to 800 students through our program since I've taken over. I can tell you the last stats I pulled since 2021, June of 2021, we've done 4,200 and some change student jumps.
Wow.
So out of all those 4,000 student jumps, only two people we've had to have that conversation with.
Pretty good chance of being able to get through, get licensed. One of the things that I always talk about people when they are talking about skydiving, I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I could do it. It's like, you first of all, let me explain this to you from a technological standpoint. The technology that goes into the parachute systems and all of the associated gear around it, to the audibles that are in your ear. I'm talking down the road after someone's licensed, and the helmet technology but the parachute itself is designed to fly like a wing. Sure, it can malfunction. Sure, you can pack a malfunction. Sure, there can be damaged equipment. There's a bunch of stuff. You can collide with other jumpers, all those things that can be prevented by being heads up. But then also, if you decide to take a nap, there's also the AAD, right? That will deploy. It's a computer. It basically just will deploy the parachute for you. It will arm at a certain altitude. It'll deploy at a lower altitude, deploys below 1,000 feet, 750 feet or something like that. And it'll deploy and bring you down to the ground. Yeah, you still got to fly it, make sure that you're landing. You want to flare as you're landing. But it's the saves that have happened in this sport. So people always, they say they'll come down with a family member and they're going to do a tandem. The family member's going to do a tandem. Oh, I could never do that. We do thousands of these every year. And you just drove on the most dangerous road in San Diego County to get here. Like, your chances of getting killed on that road are so much higher than the chances of you having the same happen here at the drop zone. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, that road, yeah, you don't have to go far on YouTube to be able to find motorcycles that have their little GoPros on it, that they go on there and wad themselves up on one specific corner. So it's a sport that there is danger to it, but it's a lot of it is perceived just because if people don't understand all the technology that goes into it, you know.
I always like to say to the tandem customers when we get those conversations, I'll say, hey, listen, it behooves me to bring you back to the planet safely because I want to go home at the end of today.
All right. They're safe by proximity.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I'll say that to them and then they'll go, you're right. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, like we want to go home too. So that usually immediately you get a good chuckle out of somebody. You see their shoulders relax a little bit because a lot of that's just fear of the unknown. Mm-hmm. They don't know what to expect. And it's like, hey, this isn't a ride. You're actually attached to a human being, and it is in their best interest for everything to go well and for them to use their training and all of this good technology that they have over their head to get you back to the planet in one piece and safely and unscathed. Mm-hmm. And that usually settles them immediately.
Yeah. Do you find that people who can make decisions quick in a adverse situation make the most successful skydivers, or is it the person that has the most experience?
I think it's the people that know how to stay calm in stressful situations. And I say that as someone with a background in emergency medicine, worked in a level 1 trauma center, worked on a really busy paramedic truck as a paramedic. And when I learned how to skydive, I was in the height of all of my medical work. And my instructors would point that out. And I'm like, well, it's an algorithm, man. Like, you pick a decision and you stick to it. One of the things I say in the school a lot is there's no waffling in skydive. It's a yes or it's a no. Mm-hmm. There is no maybe. There is no I think. It might. It's we are sticking to our decision. We stick to our plan. People that do really well with that: nurses, paramedics, police officers, military. Mm-hmm. The people that have to follow those algorithms, and they're used to dealing with high stress situations. So this is just a walk in a park. This is a fun high stress situation, and they flourish. They absolutely flourish because they know how to do it. Yeah. On the flip side of that, for the people that do struggle with those high stress situations, the gift that skydiving gives them is the confidence to make good decisions, the confidence in themselves. My favorite thing about teaching AFF is watching that little baby bird come in with their head down a little bit and their shoulders down a little bit and very unsure of themselves in this environment. And then we get them through the first one and their chin's a little higher and their shoulders are a little more back. And by the time we get them to their A license, they walk different. They've got swagger now. Mm-hmm. You see the confidence. You see them come out of their shell. You see their personality. You have given them a gift. You've given them a gift of feeling good about who they are and their confidence. And then on the flip side, they get an outlet. Yeah. But I think those people that I mentioned first, all of our high stress job people, they do extraordinarily well on the front side and they continue to do well. But the people that don't fall into that category, but they're persistent and they stay, they become of the similar mindset by the time they're done. Either way, that's my favorite thing to give them, is the gift of confidence in themselves, because skydiving is truly just a trust exercise with yourself. And I know I can trust me.
Right. You know, there's something weird because you said something like it's either yes or it's no. There's no waffling. There's no gray area. There's either you're going to do the thing or you're going to get hurt. Right. Yep. And when a lot of people come to me and they'll say, hey, I'm thinking about going and doing this job, and whatever job it may be. It's always going to be a high level job. I'm going to go to medical school. I want to go be an Army Special Forces guy. I'm going to go and be a PJ this, or I'm going to go maybe be a SEAL, or I'm going to go do. And but if I don't make that, then because I'm in this field, I'm also interested in this. Maybe I'll do that, and then I'll always tell them, you're going to end up doing that. that second thing because you've given yourself an out. You need to have one course, one direction, and that needs to be your only focus. I saw a guy not that long ago on Instagram. I saw you. Come on, stay with me, dude. Oh, I'm here. Yeah. I saw a guy on Instagram not that long ago, and he said, burn all the boats. Give yourself no way to quit. There's no other direction than you have your task at hand. If there's a boat available, you're going to get in it. You're going to get off that island of adversity. Burn all the boats. And I thought that was super powerful. You have to have one direction that you're going to go. You have one thing that you're going to accomplish, and that is it. That needs to occupy every thought that you have, every moment that you're awake. That's the reason you're going to sleep. That's why you're going to get strong. That's why that's why you are staying hydrated. That's why you're taking care of your body. That's why you're taking care of your mental health. That's why that you're preparing the relationships and people around you for what that future is going to hold inside of that job description. Those are the things that make a leader, right? And so when people come into this sport, into this place, to encounter with you and Sean and Luis and the boys that you have over there and girls that you have over there as instructors, world-class instruction, they are encountering something that is going to be a part of their future. They may not be a pro skydiver. They may not be an instructor or take tandems one day. They may not be somebody that's going to go and compete like Brian Buffalo does. He was on this podcast, go and do the world-class canopy stuff. They may not be going to do that. They're going to go and participate in something, but their goal is to always be better than the day before when they were doing that. That's what's going to keep them safe. But skydivers, as a whole, if you were to take all the skydivers that we've ever met, and we were to take a percentage of them and say, who in here has experienced the worst that life has to offer? I mean, a divorce or maybe a suicide attempt, some kind of addictions or something that has happened to them. They all have encountered, the vast majority of them have encountered something like that. But the beautiful thing about this is that it does offer you an alternative and an escape. There is a moment in time, that door opens where none of that stuff even matters anymore. And you're going out of that door and you're with your friends and you are having fun, but you're looking out for each other. And then we got to get our separation, and then we have to get our parachute over, and then let's look after each other again. Let's get on the ground together, because none of those other things are thoughts. They're not running through your head at that time, because if they are, now you have dual mind, and that person is unstable, and he is going to operate in gray, and that's where an injury happens, and everybody knows that they can't do that. And then they get on the ground, and then now they have the afterglow going on, right? They got the juice, and they're all hyped up, and that never gets old when you're standing on the fence. It's like along the fence over here at the drop zone, listening to them coming off the drop zone discussing their skydive. They're still not back to the stuff that's painful, and then they move on. But it's a temporary fix, and that's the problem. There's no you're not staying in that place where you're absent from the things that have happened to you. That is going to still come back in. So skydiving does provide, there's a degree and a level of reprieve or escapism from those things, right? But a lot of people still aren't going and getting that help that's going to get them down the road and through that. I remember who said, I think it was Winston Churchill. He said, if you're going through hell, don't stop. Right. And that's what skydiving is. It's like these little tiny stops of oasis inside of a big bucket of pain that a lot of people are going through. But I've always found that interesting as I'm now in the sport, more on the business side, but being able to be out on the field, watching people going through it, watching what they're encountering, knowing them personally, seeing them encounter it, but then watching them get their moments of escape. It's still, there's still a piece of me that's just like, man, let's get you through this all the way, so then you can enjoy skydiving and not have to use it as an escape,
Well, on the flip side of that, you're right, because that's what they are doing. So what I say to everyone is, I have family members. I'm like, what is your hobby? What do you do just for you? And it's not just my family. I can think of other adults. You ask them that question, they'll go, what do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, what is your thing that when you're there, you're not thinking about your bills. You're not thinking about the grocery list that you need to make, cutting the grass, doing the laundry, taking care of the kids. You have to be in the moment. So you create that bonding experience amongst those people. And as we've said, skydiving seems to collect somewhat broken people. So now you have this community of people, and perhaps that's a conversation that happens. Hey, I know you're going through something right now. We did a couple jumps, and now your parasympathetic system's a little more calm. You want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe the experience that I had, hey, you know what helped me? I went to see a therapist. I took some medication for a little while to get myself leveled out, and now I'm doing great. So now they have these people that they have this common ground where they've come together. And let's be honest, it's an extreme sport. It literally releases chemicals into your brain
Mm-hmm.
that now bond you to those people. Like the men and women that I work with, I'm bonded to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are my friends. I care about them deeply.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Because we do that thing together. So I know what that chemical bond feels like. So if one of those people comes to me when I'm having a hard time and says, hey, I've been through something similar. Let's talk about it. One, I trust you. I immediately trust you because we do this very intense thing together.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're saying, hey, this worked for me, you know, it does bring those broken people, but it brings very similar personalities. So typically you see those trends and like, hey, if that worked for them, it might work for me as well. And now I'm open-minded to trying it because there's no stigma attached to it. Because all of these people in this community that I hold near and dear, they've been through the same. And so it's having that hobby and that community of people that can help them complete that journey of feeling more themselves and overcoming adversity or overcoming any mental health issues or PTS or whatever it is that they have going on. It's helping them with coping mechanisms. It's providing them with a support system and then giving them alternatives.
Yeah.
This community is so much deeper than just those rad skydives that you see on Instagram. It's so multi-layered, and I'm very happy to be a part of the layers.
Yeah. Yeah, I always try to encourage people, even tandem customers out here. You know, I see them just kind of watching the landings before they go up there, and they're standing there in their harness, and they watch somebody come in and land, and then they're like, oh, they didn't land on their feet. I'm like, no, that they slid it in. That was intentional. Mm-hmm. That person is also 70 years old, and the instructor thought it'd be smarter to keep them off the ground in a way because this person's also 200 pounds and 70 years old. Right. So they came in and they slid. That person, if you notice, they still haven't touched the ground. The instructor took all that impact, slid, stayed underneath them, and then we're going to bring the golf cart up, and then we're going to put them in the golf cart, and then we're going to drive them off the drop zone, and they're going to have the biggest smile on their face. Yeah. And then I said, but watch this guy. When he comes in, boom, boom, stands up just fine, you know, because he's got a 19-year-old college, you know, the 19-year-old college athlete, you know, dude that's like just starting out life and indestructible and everything. Like they're gonna come in, they're gonna stand it up just fine. So it's the instructors are making those decisions. But when I'm talking to them, I watch them and I try to see what their levels of anxiety are, and then I'll ask them. I said, what are you concerned about? I don't know. I've just always said I would never do this. And I said, well, why would you say you would never do that? Why would you give a legal contract to something that doesn't have any jurisdiction in your life and potentially sell yourself short of something that would be an amazing experience that could potentially change your life?
Yes.
And they're like, I've never thought about it that way. And then it opens up the door just to have life conversations with them. It's like, yeah, you got to be careful what the things that come out of your mouth, the things that you say. And because if you start to speak about those things in general, it's kind of like the guy who gets divorced. He says, I will never forgive my wife for whatever it is that she did. I will never forget my husband for the things that he did. Well, you start living your life that way. Now you're giving the enemy literally a legal contract that you have signed with your mouth and your mind that you will never do something, and it's going to play into all these areas of your life all over the place, because now there's going to be a consequence to having that. So I always, whenever I talk to people out there, I'm just like, hey, let's look at this from a different perspective. When you get in that airplane, you are doing something. When you leave that aircraft, there's other drop zones around the world doing the same thing at some point. But the chances are very low, that as you're exiting the aircraft, there's somebody exiting the aircraft to the split second, the exact same time you are. In other words, you are going to be the only person in the world at that moment in time doing that thing.
Yes.
And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. See, that makes you pretty unique. That's pretty special. And you start putting things in their hearts like that, people start looking at it and they start thinking, huh. I said, how many other times in your life have you been that special? Well, hardly ever. No. So many times. And they're like, really? I'm like, you gotta change your perspective on things. You're looking at things this way, and this is all that you look at. But what happens if you start to shift and you pivot around this side? It's going to look completely different. Now you're getting a profile of it. What if you walk behind it? Now you're seeing it from the backside. Keep going on. Now you've walked the perimeter of the entire situation. Now you're able to really make a decision as to how you should move forward. You weren't sure you were going to move forward in skydiving. Or on today, you're wearing a harness, and I'm listening to you make second guesses until I began to give you a different look on things. And now you're able to look at it differently, and now it doesn't look so scary. It doesn't look so daunting. And now, as you go forward in life, the next time you come across something like this, you can say, yeah, but the last time this happened, this is how I changed before I even went on the skydive. And then when the skydive, and I did it, and I'm with somebody who is absolutely proficient, absolutely safe, and I know that I can get on the ground safely. I get on the ground, I'm like, yeah, but I did that before. I just need to do it again. Yes. And it is and I think so few people are hearing encouragement like that. And it's something if you think about the grand scheme of things, skydiving is, there's how many skydivers, how many USPA members are there? Like 40,000 maybe?
I don't know.
I think there's 36, 40,000. Yeah. That's how many licensed skydivers there are in the USPA, which is the largest governing body in the world of skydiving. Right. Well, that's what, 1%?
Right. Like it's a fraction of a percent.
So let's back up for a minute. Who's Amber? Tell me about Amber. Where's Amber come from? I know. They don't know. So where's Amber come from? Talk about you were real, pretty high level in the medical world, which has come in super handy around here a couple times.
So first thing I always tell everybody knows, because I talk about it all the time, I am a through and through Midwest kid, corn-fed. I'm from Indiana. I've been in California for 4 years now after the opportunity I got here, but it all started, I'm from Indiana. I worked for the fire department and at a level 1 trauma center doing emergency medicine for about 13 years total. I worked for IU Health for 13 years, transferred around to some different ERs doing different work depending on what they were doing. I've had the opportunity in the different careers that I've had in my life to have really strong female mentors, women that just really changed the way I operate, the way I carry myself, the way I interact with people. I think that gave me a great foundation to go into skydiving. Most medical providers right now will tell you they're very disenchanted with the medical world. And that was kind of it for me. I started to figure out that once I started skydiving a lot and getting to the point where I could have ratings and start making money doing this thing that I cared about, I remember sitting on an overnight shift, really sitting there thinking like, do I even want to be here anymore? All I'm thinking about is how can I get the most days in a row off so I can be at the drop zone? And I went from, the big shift for me was, instead of being a part of the worst day of someone's life over and over, and now I get to be the part of somebody, the best day of their life maybe, or a changing day in their life. We're celebrating something huge for them, or they're overcoming a fear, or they've made some sort of accomplishment, or it's a bonding experience for families, whatever it may be. They may not remember my name, they may not remember my face, but they're going to remember that experience, and I got to be a part of it in a positive way. And the calmness the confidence, the joy, for the lack of a better word, that shift in mentality has brought to my life has made all of this possible, has really helped. I think I'm a good leader in general. I think I was very good at leading in emergency situations, but the way that I am able to lead and mentor people now, it comes from a different place. It comes from a place of confidence. It comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of like encouragement and always being in that positive way. You know, on the flip side of that, it's kind of a joke. I have a couple shirts. I have one that says no. I have one that says nope. And I have another one that says absolutely not. These have all been given to me by other people since I've been here. And my thing on that is when I'm telling you no, it's because I care about you. I care about your family. I don't want to have to make certain phone calls to them. So when I'm sitting here saying a lot of this comes from a place of positivity, it really does. I promise you it does. I care about you. And this has given me the opportunity to still be that mama bear a little bit, to still be that caretaker of people, to still look after people and be a steward of their hearts and their mental health, but doing it in a different way that doesn't take its toll on me or the people that are around me. And so that's where I came from. I grew up in a family that's very public service. My stepmom was an ER nurse before she was an OB nurse. And she even told me, she's like, I've known since you were little, you were a little weirdo. She's like, I remember when you were 9 and you were asking me, what's the worst thing you saw at work today? And I was into it. My uncle, when he couldn't find me in the fire station, he found me in the back of the ambulance with an air splint on my arm and blue fingers because I had that sucker pumped all the way up. Like, so those things, that caretaker part of me it's been there since I was a kid. But that curiosity, that pull to be in a position of leadership and to, I think control is a bit of the wrong word, but to be able to control what's going on and feel like you're helping, that was a big part for me. And skydiving parallels that. But the other thing I would say about who I am as a person, I fundamentally got changed by skydiving. I learned what a real hobby was. I learned what that escape was and how to shut my brain off and how to calm my heart down. And that's something I want to give to everybody. So the person that I was before, and I always kind of say it like that because now people are like, oh, when are you going to get a real job? I'm like, well, this is a real job and it does pay real money. So like that counts, right? But it gives me a chance to affect people's life in what I feel is a much more positive way, and to give them a gift of safely doing things that they want to do that gives them that outlet for their nervous energy, for their anxiety, or just for their pure unbridled joy. Mm-hmm. I can do all those things now, but that's who I am. I'm the middle of 6 kids. I've grown up where I'm very good in a crowd. I'm very good in a community because that's how I grew up. Yeah. And you're a Midwesterner, you know, we're built different. Right. You know, there's a lot of, sorry. Yeah. Like, yeah. So.
You had merry-go-rounds growing up, right?
Yes.
Did you grab a hose once or twice?
Oh, for sure. But you got to get the hose in the shade, not the hose that's hot.
Well, you just got to let it run for a second if it's hot. You know, you just got to turn it on, let it run. Yeah, I made that mistake a couple times growing up. You know, one thing, and I think we talked about you on a couple podcasts, especially Sam and I, when we were in here just messing around one day and it turned into a podcast. But you are a fantastic mom. And oddly enough, you don't have kids, your own kids.
I have a bunch of kids.
You have.
I have like hundreds of kids. Yep.
And so we were laughing. I think it might have been you and Isaac were talking about it, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it was Sam and I. Now that they're like, what is a woman? That what is a woman thing? People are like, I don't know, I'm not a biologist. Yeah. I was like, I have a pretty good idea what one is. They pretty much run every department at my business. Not because they're women, but because they're the best person for that job. And watching you parent these kids, my kids, as recent as yesterday.
A little bit.
You know? as recent as yesterday, little Cindy Sam over here trying to go up and again, asking stuff he already knows the answer to. And I just pull myself out as his bio dad. And I'm like, what say you? And you're like, no. And here's why. And yesterday, he is the first time that he really responded to that. And he went online and took some of the tests that he needs to take to move up to that next level in licensing. And just so he can get that much closer to doing the thing, whatever that thing is. But watching you and your consistency, being consistent is very key in parenting. People always ask me, like, how did you get such great kids? I'm like, it's being consistent. You have to consistently be there. You have to consistently be there on purpose. You have to consistently be there intentionally and on purpose. And if you aren't, then what happens is the lane lines lift. When the lane lines lift, now they have no sense of direction because forward could be sideways. Forward can be backwards. It doesn't matter. There's not someone right there saying that's the direction you need to go, because that's where you're going to find what you're looking for. If you start just moving around because the lane lines are lifted, because somebody is not parenting intentionally, then what happens is everything is on the table. Options grow, and those options aren't going to be awesome. Now dial in dangerous stuff. So you are parenting people who are in a position to potentially get really hurt by a bad decision, but they have you and your staff who has been trained by you to be able to do things constantly, right, intentionally, on purpose, like under the microscope. There's supervision all the way through from the time that they are like the student going through the emergency procedures to, hey, now we're going to get our parachute system. Now we're going to go over what this dive flow is going to look like on this dive. Yeah. Right? Are you good? Okay, we're going to go over this paperwork first, and we're going to read these. I'm going to come back. I'm going to quiz you on that. Okay, now let's put the parachute system on. Right? Now let's give you a gear check. Now let's go over what the dive flow is going to look like again. Now let's jam the mock-up. Right? We're going to practice being in the door on the ground. Now let's walk out to the aircraft. Now let's go ahead and let's board the aircraft. Now let's do it all again, but this time we're going to do it in the air. We're going to get on the ground. Now let's talk about everything that happened. It takes hours and hours and hours of diligence, of intentional behavior, and being in it with them and demonstrating a standard to get to where they are going to be able to fly on their own, because now you can now trust them with their own life. That is exactly what parenting is. To the T. There is no other way of being able to describe what it is that you do. You are a mom to so many people, and I get to see it all the time. And every time I see it, I am impressed. And I see you behaving like a mom. I see you stressed out like a mom. I see you doing your fingertips like a mom. I see you like doing knife hand like a mom. I see you laying down the law like a mom. And then I see you getting soft and compassionate like a mom. And I see you love to tears like a mom. We've just been through that, you and I. I see you respond to somebody who is at their worst point in their life and there's nothing you can do about it like a mom.
Yep.
And I'm starting to choke up. And when I see that stuff, I know that I'm in the presence of greatness. I know that I'm in the presence of somebody who is poised to change the world, because there are so few people out there who have parents that really give a crap about them, and they find it here. And then there are the people, this is the part that sucks the most, who you can pour into them with all you got, and you're giving them that same amount of love and care, and you're giving them everything that you can, and they're going to go a different way. And it can be a baby bird, like you like to call them, and it could be a staff member. And when that happens, the way that you respond is exactly the way moms respond to that. You'll never forget. You're going to continue to love. You are never going to turn your back on them if whoever it is just shows back up and it's just like, I need you again. You're going to be like, I'm right here. What do you need? And so when I was thinking about this today, I was thinking about what is the one word, what is the one thing that I can take what Amber does and I can parallel it to, so everybody on the other side of that device will understand who Amber is. What is the one word? And I was just like, do I use like a leader, or do I use or this word, or warrior, or what? No, it's mom. It's mom, which is the highest compliment that any woman can receive, whether they have kids or not, because it means that you care and that you love and that you are intentional about everything that you do, and you lead your life in a way that other people are going to be able to look at it and say, that is somebody I want to emulate. I want to be like my mom. I do, like more than like some of her qualities. But the best part of one of the best parts of my mom is my dad, right? And he's taught me so much about how to be a man, but my mom taught me the soft things. She's like, to be a good man, you're going to need this, and you are lacking in it. And she just drove it in and made sure that it was there. And I have more than one mom. I have 3 or 4 other women in my life that I literally call mom. I call them mom, or their kids who are kind of close to my age. I'll call them and say, hey, how's mom? Have you talked to her lately? And they'll bat an eye at it, because that is the highest compliment that anybody can receive. And I think that I don't have to go far in this house being this situation, this business, this entity, whatever, this group of people, this family, to be able to go up to them and say, who's mom? Or, would you consider Amber a mom? Or if I could say any myriad of ways, I'm not going to find a person that's going to disagree with that. Whether they agree with everything you say or whether or not, they're going to say, yeah, 100%. So as you're going through your life, I think that you are leaving impacts on people. You may or may not change the world yourself. The credit is going to fall to you because of the amount of people that you have had influence over. Like you said, 800 or so people through the school. Those are 800 people that have had that you have touched them in some way. And when you do that, and that is, I mean, women across the board that are out there, a lot of them, they feel like, oh, I have to do this to make a difference. I have to make this amount of money to make a difference. I have to have this kind of lifestyle to make a difference. I have to have this kind of influence to make a difference. Not necessarily. I would say that your greatest currency that you are going to offer this world is going to be who you have influenced and who you've been around. And those people are going to move forward with you as in their battery. You're going to be in that battery. You're going to be the reason they're going the direction that they're going, and that credit is going to fall to you, mom, that is struggling, trying to figure out, I need another job, or I need this, or I need that. Yep, it's cool. But in between looking for the job, or in between working those second, third, and fourth job to make things work for those kids, or the people that you are influencing, those are the people that you are influencing in a direction, because they have lane lines and they're going to have a direction that they're going to go, which is not going to be just going left and right and backwards. They're going to always move forward because you have instilled in them that 1% better every day. And that is power on another level. And so the people that are around you, the people that I talk to about you, the people that know you, aren't going to disagree. There are going to always be people anywhere you go that are going to be like, I don't know. Those are the people. Guess where you get to stay? You get to stay at arm's distance. And those are the ones that I'm going to choose not to give influence and set up shop in my head rent free. And that is another thing that a lot of people, not just women, people, they give way too much credence to the people who are going to just start talking, and then they're going to start paying attention to what someone says instead of the direction that they should be going. And that is by design. There is always going to be a design to pull somebody off of their course, because that there are going to be people, there is an enemy, and they do not want you to be absolutely effective in who you're influencing, because if you're influencing right, that means that that person is now going to have a construct towards a positive, towards a strength, towards a direction that they're supposed to be going, and this is a distraction. Now, if you're going to allow that distraction to happen, that means that this isn't happening in full effectiveness. And if there's one thing I know about you, is that you are really, really hard to distract. I've seen you distracted, but you're hard to distract. Yeah. And that is a absolute testimony to you and how you do things. So I know you're out there and you're coaching now, and you're coaching other drop zones and schools and how to do this, because no one is doing it as effectively as you are. I think that's a good one to put in your tool belt and say, you're going to have to get in there sometimes. You got to, and you're going to have to pair it.
Yeah. And it's exactly what you said. It's consistency. My big thing is my sense of justice and fairness. We've had some conversations recently about these working women in skydiving, those of us that are in the trenches. And the more that we connect and we talked, and I start to hear the stories of the way that we are treated, the trials and tribulations that we've been put through unnecessarily, quite frankly, it's shocking, it's alarming, and it's scary when I look at these young women that I'm bringing up and bringing into the sport. And so overall, just being a woman that's in a position of leadership in this industry that we're in right now, I believe the statistic was somewhere around 10,000 skydiving instructors in the U.S. About 400 of those are women. So we are definitely in the minority, and we're looked at a lot. And again, that statistic could be wrong, but it was something similar to that a few years ago. And it's those things. I think about, we need to be fair. We need to be consistent. We need to have a voice, and we need to speak up. We need to push back. And that's the position we've been put in. And that's what's happening. And I have this support system now of women too that are like, hey, when you encounter these situations, this is what I did. And it allows me to translate that back to how I'm leading folks and the expectations I have for them. And the one thing that I can say is I'm consistent with my fairness. It's, okay, well, I don't allow you to do it, Sammy, because, well, your dad owns the place, so I guess it's okay. No, these are the rules. We follow the rules here. When you meet those things, you can go do it. And it's the same for everyone else. And I think that's where, as a parent, I grew up with 5 siblings. There was not that system of equality. And so a lot of the things that I do are based on my life experience. And I'd be like, but I don't understand. Why are they allowed to do that? And I'm not allowed to do that. Like, outside of the fact that he's a boy and I'm a girl, we're the same age, we got the same things going on, like, that's unfair. And so I think about that now with the students and with the up-and-coming fun jumpers and with the instructors. It's the same conversation. Consistency and fairness. They're never going to have to worry about, if they come to me on a certain day, if they're going to get a different response than normal. I make it a point to offer that consistency. And I think that's why they feel like they have a soft place to fall when they come to me to discuss moving forward as an instructor, or maybe they had a bad day as an instructor or a student. And it's like you said, how do we recover from those things? And it's talking people through that process, again, consistently, fairly, with some sense of social justice and what's right for the situation in that moment.
Yeah. What's your favorite movie?
Oh, man. We got to get into genres on that one. Oh, gosh. Boondock Saints.
Good one. Favorite song?
Oh, that changes too often. Can't say I have a favorite song right now. Because it's whatever's on the radio, man. We're vibing.
Favorite artist?
Right now, honestly, Meg Thee Stallion. Shout out, Lady Power right there.
What is your favorite place to go on a date?
Oh, Buffalo and I have our Saturday sushi spot. We actually
they know who Buffalo is.
Yes,
yep.
And even went in there the other day, and they're like, "Oh, we haven't seen you guys," and because he goes out to sea, it was kind of funny. I was like, they're gonna think that we broke up.
Yeah,
that we're not, because they haven't seen us for like 4 months because he's been at work.
Favorite beach?
Right now, honestly, I love IB. I lived there for 2 years. I know we can't go in the ocean there, but love doing our walks there. Just love having that's our little local spot. I love IB right now.
How can people find you?
On Instagram, it's Amber W, DUBYA 218.
She had to explain it to me too.
Well, we had George W.
Right.
A little Midwesty, so you get the W on there. You can find me on Instagram. I have the simplest email on the planet. It's just amber@skydivesandiego.com. I'm always reachable that way. And if you come to this drop zone, I will be here.
You will be here, absolutely. If somebody wants to skydive, they want to learn how to skydive, and they want you to teach them, what is the best way for them to be able to do that? I imagine those two things will work, but
yes,
but then also there's.
You can simply drop us an email at tridentschool@skydivesandiego.com if you want information, if you have specific questions, if you want to get recurrent. Especially lately, I've had a group of the over 50 crowd that's coming back to skydiving, and we've been working with them a lot. So if you've been away for a while and you got the itch, give me a buzz. We'll get you back going again. But just drop us that email again, tridentschool@skydivesandiego.com, or you can visit our website, and you have my email as well. I'm happy to answer questions. It's probably my favorite thing to talk about. So
it's been awesome. Thank you for hanging out with me today.
Thank you for the conversation. You said a lot of things that were very meaningful, so I appreciate it.
Good.
So,
well, we love you here. You're, like I said, you're the mama around here, and I wanted everybody to know you and love you as much as I do. So, as we all do. So, but thanks for being here today. And for y'all, hey, thanks for hanging out with Amber and I today. And if listen, if you're struggling with things in the area of mental health, and normally like we have another thing that we do. It's called Manikel Men's Coaching. It's not just for dudes. Listen, all of us have stuff that we're fighting. All of us have stuff that we're struggling with. We all have something that's going on, and maybe it's something that's relational, maybe it's health-wise, maybe it's something that is you're dealing with your kids, or maybe it's something that is you just have some relationship over here that you just don't know how to close the gap there. Maybe it's something you're dealing with in your past, or maybe it's stuff going on with your future finances. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're not operating on all cylinders, probably what you're dealing with is a symptom. But what Manikel does is we get down and figure out what the disease is, and that's the part that we're going to deal with in a process, right? This isn't therapy. This isn't we're going to just hold your hand and we're going to just rub your back and tell you everything's going to be okay. No, it's going to suck for a second, but you're not going to be alone, and we're going to work through it together. All you have to do is just send us a get on Instagram and send us a DM. We're a BramRadio podcast on Instagram. Just send a DM and just say, hey, I'd love to be able to have a conversation with you about it. And one of our coaches will give you a shout right away. We want to make sure that everybody's getting handled, getting taken care of, because there's enough people out there that have struggles that don't have anybody to talk to. We want to make sure you're not one of them. Okay? So make sure you reach out to us and hit us up. But until the next time I talk to you guys, stay dangerous.